Hello, hello, hello. I'm Cassie. Welcome back to podcasts. We are on season 3, episode 13. It is Taylor Swift's lucky number, so let's give a shout out to Taylor Swift. I freaking love her. It's actually funny. My partner and I just went away on a little vacation, and we live in upstate New York, and she recorded or has that folklore video, the Disney Plus movie out where she records and they perform folklore at Long Pond Studios, which is in upstate New York. So we were like, is that where she was? Is that where she is? Is that who? Is that her cabin over there? So we were looking out for Taylor Swift over the past few days. And I don't know, I like to pretend she heard me singing her songs while we were kayaking on the lake. It was really fun. It was really fun. Even though we ended up kayaking that first day for 6 miles too long or something crazy. We were out for hours and we got a little lost. We were trying to go hiking, and anyways, it was a really good time. And I also want to mention that I'm currently on a social media break for the month of October, and this is something that I had to do. It's like when I take breaks from social media, especially Instagram. Instagram is where I like to use all of my creative juices, and I really do like it. I love it, actually. But the issue is with spending so much time and energy on one platform like Instagram, I just feel like I'm not like as well-rounded in my day-to-day because I'm spending so much time on that platform. And it's distracting in terms of how inspired I am. So a lot of people like to take social media breaks because of the toxicity and, oh my gosh, all of the people that have opposing opinions or whatever. I can't take it. And I've actually grown my community and in my platform in a way where it feels so good. But sometimes I'm looking constantly at other coaches, my friends, that are putting out really cool content, courses, creations. And it's really hard for me not to pick something up from that and maybe use it even unconsciously in my own teachings, even on this podcast. I like to use a lot of references, and I think that's a really great way to be well-rounded in your content for sure. I mean, I like to read a lot, different authors, and I think that's all really how we get our knowledge, right, is from other people. But if it's a constant consumption, I was constantly consuming, and it was so inspiring that my mind felt like it was going to explode every day because I'm like, whoa, I have this idea, I have that idea, that person did that looks really cool, maybe I should do that too, or maybe I could do that but like in a different way, but maybe, and so my mind was just spinning constantly. Again, not in a bad way where I'm like inundated with horrible people telling me to F off or anything like that, because I know a lot of people experience that. Although I did go through a time when I spoke up a little bit more about the state of the world. That's when I definitely get some negativity thrown my way, but that's not the reason that I'm off of this platform. In fact, I would love to go back on and stand up and be a little louder in that aspect, but like I'm ready for people. I'm ready for that feedback or for some backlash, because that's simply what happens when you take a stance and it's not the typical stance that most people take. And I pride myself in being that type of person that doesn't just follow just because it's the normal thing to do, or just because my friends and family say that it is the right thing to do, although that is how I lived for so many years throughout my life, for most of my life up until my 20s. Probably my mid-20s is when I really kind of had my feet on solid ground and started to understand myself and understand my beliefs and develop my beliefs, because the beliefs that I was carrying, I unknowingly was carrying beliefs that weren't even mine, ideas that weren't even mine. Even stressors that weren't mine. It's like we all pick up a lot of different things that we carry from our parents or from our caretakers in the past that we forget that it's not even ours. So that's kind of the reason that I'm not on social media right now for the month of October, although I do pop on almost every day just to like check my messages. even though when I see a message, I don't respond. So I have no reason to do that. I'm calling myself out. It's really hard to, when you're addicted and when your brain is literally wired to open up this app. It is so crazy. You know, my fingers just kind of open it on its own, even still. And it's almost we're more than halfway through the month and my body is still, in the process of getting rid of this addiction, even though I can hop back on November. And I'm a little nervous about that because I feel like it's just, I'm going to go back to my old ways, which isn't a bad thing, but I just want to have more mental clarity as far as what I am creating for the world versus what other people are creating, and then kind of take little bits and pieces of that. I just really want to be more authentic with my creations that come from my downloads, from my whoa, I just thought of something. And yeah, that idea might be the same as someone across the world, but it's not because I just read her post that inspired me. So although I do miss the inspiration and the excitement of posting and creating content for Instagram, it's been really nice to take a break, especially like I mentioned, we were kayaking. We went away up north for a little while just so we can be in the woods and not use our phones and just talk and not watch TV and really connect. And that's what this episode is all about. I know I digressed a little bit about social media, but I really do think it's important in understanding our own happiness and how we can access it a little bit more easily when we know what to do, and how and when we know what's going on, really, when we know the root cause, basically. You know, have you ever felt off and you're just I don't know why I feel so off, or I don't know why I feel kind of angry. This past week for me, I feel very resentful. I feel a little bit mad at the world. I feel like my patience are super low with most people and it bothers me. I don't like feeling that way. But because I have felt this way, I've asked myself these questions, and that's why I'm doing this podcast episode, because I have come up with this conclusion, basically, that happiness is connected to connectedness. Okay? Happiness is connected to our feeling of connectedness. And it's funny because hopping off of Instagram might make you feel disconnected from the world, or disconnected from everything that's going on, which could be a scary thing. But in actuality, disconnecting from Instagram has allowed me to connect to myself. It's allowed me to connect into my truth and to what I really believe, instead of watching and listening to my favorite people and then having their ideas seep into my consciousness and believe it, even though, maybe, who knows, maybe the filter is getting a little foggy. And that's why I'm just here, not on social media right now, clearing out that fog to make sure that what I'm seeing, what I'm creating, what I'm writing is from me. And I hope someone else is inspired by my social media break, because it's not easy to do. But when we do things that aren't easy, that's when we find the magic, and that's when we get rewarded. And I know that I am finding more alignment with disconnecting from social media and connecting into myself. And the way that I'm doing that is, first of all, journaling is huge. And you can just even write a little brain dump. And a lot of times when I journal, it's just this is what I did today and this is how I felt about today. And it's really cool and interesting to look back at that journal and be I don't even remember I did that. That's so cool. Now I remember it. Now I'm brought back to that. So it's cool to have a journal, not only to brain dump and to release some thoughts that have kind of been hanging around. When you write them down, it's kind of you can burn that piece of paper and let it go. But as far as a journal goes, it's really cool to look back and to read about your past. It's really cool. I love it. It's so interesting to read from when I was in 7th grade, these crushes that I had and my state of mind and my consciousness. Even just reading the way that I thought it's crazy to see how far I've come, and I'm like, I roll my eyes at myself like, oh God, I can't believe I said that or did that or whatever. But it's hilarious to look back on and to feel really proud about how far that my consciousness has developed now as a 31, almost 32-year-old, which is insane. I feel like I'm still 18 half of the time. And when I do read back to my 18-year-old self, I'm like, okay, I definitely don't feel 18 anymore because I am not that person anymore. And I'm very glad that I'm not. I've moved on to understanding myself and life in a little bit of a different way that is more helpful for me and more helpful, I think, for humanity as well. I was very resentful in the past, and especially, for example, like when Trump was elected president, and that wasn't even when I was 18, that was a little bit after that. I was really mad at anyone who voted for him, and I was really mad at him. And the tweets that I sent out and the Facebook posts, it was so mean. I was so mean, and I was not accepting of other people. And at that time, I was totally disconnected from myself, but I was doing what I thought was the right thing. And when you are in that consciousness of this is right and this is wrong, then clearly that's very polarizing, and you're adding to the polarization of the United States of America, which isn't quite united at this time. And it's my goal these days, as the mature woman that I am today, to unite us once again as the United States of America. I mean, I want to be proud to be here. I want to be proud to be an American citizen. And right now, my fellow people, a lot of us are attacking each other, and it's hurtful. So these are the people too, including myself of the past, that are disconnected from themselves, ultimately leading to a very, I guess I can say unhappy. I mean, I was happy on the surface level, but deep down I was not happy when I was living in a way that was super divisive and disconnected from half of the population because Team Red or Team Blue is on the other side. So it's a nicer place that I'm living in now, where I'm really, 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 and it's interesting that I get backlash on trying to unite people. It's like, just because I don't think a particular way doesn't mean we shouldn't all get along, right? So I know a lot of people are talking about this, but it's really important to me in this time of my life and I do think it's part of my mission in this state of the world, has definitely brought this mission out within me. So I'm really grateful for that, because it hurts me to see how many people are so mean to each other. I have a sister-in-law who won't even be around me right now because of a decision that I've made about my body. And I'm like, what? Wait, so you're avoiding a certain type of person these days? I'm really confused, because I thought you stood up for unity and coming together and accepting everyone no matter what their beliefs are or how they decide to live. So that's a little confusing to me. But anyways, I digress. So let's talk about really the intention of this episode. I want to help you understand that we have the power to change our state and harness happiness through the power of connection. Like that's what I'm talking about. And I know I feel like I've talked a lot about the disconnection, but that's important to know, because when you're feeling unhappy, you're most likely disconnected from, maybe it could be a very, very special, close loved one. That could be a situation. But most likely it's a disconnection from yourself. When we're disconnected from ourselves, it's really hard to be genuinely happy, because if you're living in a way where you're making yourself quote unquote happy because other people are saying or doing certain things, that's not doing what you want to say or do. And maybe it is, maybe some things that your friends or family or whoever, it's right along the lines of what you would do, then great. But the whole point of this is to understand if that's actually the case or not. And a lot of us live unconsciously to a point where we don't even understand what we would want to do if we could change our lives, or how we can change our lives really easily just by shifting our perspective. And I say really easily, but I think about myself this past week, super in this mood of like, I was PMSing and I was just, in that kind of mood. It isn't easy, but it's simple. I shouldn't say it's easy. It's simple when we do understand this, because you can access that happiness even when you're feeling completely disconnected from it. We are always connected. We're always connected, and we can harness our happiness and our connection to self through a lot of different things. Like I mentioned, journaling, even tarot cards. Why do we pull tarot cards? It's so we can learn about ourselves, so we can feel more connected to ourselves and what we need to do in order to maybe pivot a little bit to step into a closer alignment to who we really are. And that's what I do when I pull cards. I say, hey, deck, thanks for looking out for me. I just have a question here. I would love for you to show me a card that will help me understand how to focus my energy. But really what that's saying is, like, where am I disconnected? Where is my disconnection? And that's something you can even ask your tarot cards if you have them, or yourself when you're journaling. Where do I feel a disconnection within myself? Where is there a lack within myself? Because we don't want to be living in lack, of course, because that completely resists any manifestations that we are trying to make in our lives. When we're in resistance, that is quite literally putting up a wall in front of any manifestations that you really want to happen. So in order to take that wall down, it's a matter of asking ourselves some really good questions, going in and connecting into our bodies, connecting into ourselves, and really taking a moment, getting still and listening, and actually listening to the answer. So really good questions, really good answers. We can use our breath. Our breath is the best way to get into the body. I've talked about this a little bit before. And when we use our breath, we're not in our minds. At first it might be, but if you go through a little bit more of a meditative breath work, or even a shorter breath work, but after a minute or two, you'll start to really just focus on the breath. And that's when the body takes over and the mind calms down a little bit, because it's not just in that thinking mode. Your body's rather in the feeling mode, which is where our wisdom is. Our minds are going a mile a minute half the time, actually more than half of the time, with old programming, with what we did yesterday, what we will do tomorrow, and where are we right now in this moment. If we're disconnected from this moment, we're disconnected from ourselves. And let's connect back in. Let's do what we can when we feel disconnected to really feel into our bodies, to breathe a little bit deeper into our bellies, and to understand that we have access to wholeness and to this present moment and to our actual selves right now. And that's where happiness, true, like contentment, just perfectly, pleasantly happy, lives, is inside right now. Even when you're feeling angry or mad, it's still in there, but it's just a matter of kind of picking out that shit that's just been compounding on top of that authentic happiness that you truly are deep down inside. I have this book called Radical Wholeness by Philip Shepherd. It's one of the best books I've ever read, and it did help me get out of my depression. I want to read a little bit of it just because it's called Radical Wholeness, which is really another way of saying radically connected, right? Connected to everything, whole as one. And he talks a lot about we're connected to everything, not just to ourselves, but we're connected to life itself. And when we can really feel that connection, we can truly feel whole, and we can truly feel happy at a very deep, content, like very pleasant level. Not this fake, like, oh my God, I'm really excited for the weekend because I'm gonna drink and party. Like, that's a very temporary, shallow type of conditional happiness. What we're looking for is that unconditional happiness, and really have access to that. I do have a podcast episode about unconditional happiness. It's one of my most listened to episodes, so feel free to go watch or listen to that after this episode as well. Let me read this snippet from Philip Shepherd. All right, consider breathing, for instance. The air that fills your lungs carries oxygen that was produced by photosynthesis. You are breathing in exhalations of forests. The oxygen that passes into your lungs and into your blood and eventually becomes part of every living cell in your body is born of the touch of sunlight on leaves. When breath passes out of your body, it carries carbon dioxide into the world to eventually nourish and become part of trees. So your experience of breath is literally an experience of the world passing through you, sustaining the reality of your life, which in turn transforms it to help sustain the life of the world. Whoa. So just by us being alive and breathing, we're literally helping life itself be. And if that doesn't like up your happiness level or like awareness level, that's a really cool perspective to have, and that could just help you feel like you have more of a purpose, even just by breathing in this air of life. Okay. Spiritual traditions the world over have developed disciplines and practices to bring attention to the breath, for it puts you in touch with not just with your life, but with the life coursing through the moment. Similarly, the words animal, psyche, spirituality, and inspiration all trace their roots back to the words meaning breath. Your experience of your breath is foundational, not just to your life, but to your experience of life. Again, you have choice in the matter. You can choose to experience your breath carrying the world through you, or you can inhibit your experience of it. Let me say that one more time. You can choose to experience your breath carrying the world through you, or you can inhibit your experience of it. Any tension you carry in any part of your body, any internal clenching or bracing, any part taken out of the flow of the present and buffered from it, will initiate a cascade of effects. It will diminish your body's availability to the breath, inhibit feeling, compromise your experience of being, and contract your sense of reality. So your experience of reality is upheld by the experience of your breath passing through you. Whoa. Philip Shepard dropping that mic. And it's so cool. I mean, there are many. Let me just read one or two more sentences. There are many more ways in which you experience the world passing through you. If you bite into an apple, for instance, its flesh will pass into your body to become your flesh. In a short time, much of that apple will no longer be identified as apple, but as you, as part of your eyelashes and capillaries and nerves. Over the years, every molecule that once belonged to the apple and then became you will be carried back out of your body to nourish the living earth, or at least such offerings used to nourish the earth before toilets were invented, right? All right, so that is so freaking cool. His whole book has so many gems like that, so I highly recommend Radical Wholeness by Philip Shepard. It is definitely a life-changing book for sure. And the way that he writes is really easy to comprehend, a lot of it. There's some different concepts that take a longer time to read and to digest, but it's really digestible once you take the time to actually pick up the book and read it. It is so good. It's so good. So yeah, so not only our breath, not only journaling, not only tarot cards, but what else? Ask yourself, how do you feel more connected to you? Ask yourself right now. Maybe close your eyes. Let's do this. Close your eyes. Okay, get comfortable, relax your shoulders. Let's take 3 really deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay, ready? In through the nose, all the way down to the belly. Hold it for just a second, and then exhale through the mouth. Nice and slow. 2 more like that. Inhale through the nose. Relax the shoulders, relax the body. Hold the breath for just a moment. And exhale nice and slowly through the mouth. Last time, we'll hold it at the top. Inhale through the nose. Relax your body, relax your shoulders. Hold the breath. Hold it for as long as you can here. And just let a sense of peace come over you. A sense of connectedness. a sense of wholeness. And you can exhale. It's really nice to use sound as well when you are doing breath work. It's another way that we can access deeper healing is when we use our sound, when we use voice, when we use sighs, when we, use that other aspect of our senses that really, indigenous cultures and things like that, they use breath, they use sound, they use chants in order to heal. So that's just a little tidbit there too. So now that we kind of relaxed our body, I invite you to keep your eyes closed if you like, and let me be your voice inside of your head here. What is it that is making me feel disconnected? Where in my body do I feel disconnected? Where am I lacking wholeness in my body? Where am I lacking wholeness in my life? Where is there a misalignment? How does this misalignment feel? And how can I transmute this misalignment into one of my greatest strengths? Okay. So those are good questions to ask yourself. Definitely reflect on them and see what you can do, because we're all different. We're all different. We all have different bodies. We all have different personalities. We all have different needs. So you can't expect your happiness to be exactly replicated with your neighbor Sally's happiness. Maybe she loves gardening. Maybe she loves planting food, and maybe you like eating food. And that's what makes the world go round, is maybe, that's why farmers are so amazing. They have a really great passion for bringing food to communities, and us communities love eating it. So we are very whole in that way. And just like Philip Shepherd said, everything we eat, it comes right back out into this environment too. Everything we breathe, every time we breathe, we're breathing in more life to ourselves, and we're breathing out more life to everyone else, and to the trees and to the forests. It's so cool. It's really cool to think about that. We're always connected. We are always connected. It's just a matter of what is bogging down that connection, or what is making that wholeness that you truly do have. What's making it feel like it's not there? What's disguising it as it's not there? So ask yourself those questions, and I hope that you come up with some really powerful answers for yourself. You can even just meditate on one of these powerful questions. Where do I feel lack? Where is there a lack of wholeness in my body? And your body and your mind, your soul will talk to you. You have the answers. Again, your body's a wisdom keeper. So look out for those answers. And if you don't have a clear answer that comes through while you're meditating or whatever, continuously journal and you will uncover the answers. Success leaves clues. So understand that and really look for those clues and synchronicities and signs, and connect. Connect into God if you believe in God. Connect to the universe. Say your prayers. There's so much that we can do to really feel connected, not only to ourselves, but to the beings that are supporting us, or to the divinity that is supporting us, or to source energy, or whatever you want to call it. The universe has your back always, and it always will. But when you don't believe it, then it's really hard for the universe to have your back. When we truly believe it, when we're living in the belief that we are being taken care of always, then we will be taken care of always. But we have to trust, and we have to release the resistance to what is, in order to find our happiness, in order to connect to ourselves, to who we really, really are, and to our loved ones too. We can't connect with anyone for real if we're not truly connected with ourselves. As we know this, right? We know this cognitively, but really experiencing this in our lives is so much different than just knowing it. So the mantra for today is, I hold the ability to change my state by connecting deeper. I really like this one. I'll say it again so you can write it down. If you please, I hold the ability to change my state by connecting deeper. I really like that. I hope you found this episode really helpful today. Although I'm not on Instagram right now, I will be in like 2 weeks or so. Feel free to tag me. I would love it if you posted my podcast on your socials, on Facebook or Instagram. I would love to get the word out a little bit more. And just as a little sneak peek of something that's coming that's super exciting, my partner Joe and I are actually planning on doing a podcast together. And we already have the name and the episodes and everything like that. Like, we have so much planned out, but now we just have to record it. And I just wanted to let you know because it's going to be epic, especially with people who, a partnership who kind of we have opposing views on some things, but ultimately we're going to have some epic conversations that will allow people to think a little bit differently about the state of the world. It's definitely going to be a lot about the state of the world and humanity and how we react to each other, how we interact with each other, and all of that jazz. So look out for that. I'll definitely have more info moving forward. And until then, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for all of the things supporting this podcast. I super, super appreciate you. I will catch you on the next episode of Podcasts.